Today I'm going to go back to Truman, Arkansas in 2011. Just before 11:30 on April 12th, 2011, Truman police officer Jonathan Schmidt made a traffic stop. He stopped a Hyundai Sonata. When Officer Schmidt stopped this vehicle, there were 4 occupants inside, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. The driver in the vehicle, Brian Ellenbaugh, had a warrant for his arrest, and he was driving on a suspended license. So Officer Schmidt asked Ellenbaugh to step out of the vehicle, and Ellenbaugh was arrested. Officer Schmidt got the identification of the other 3 people in the vehicle. Those people were April Swanner, Nikki Pierce, and Jerry Lard. A second officer, Officer Overstreet, arrived on the scene as backup. So Officer Overstreet was standing back as Officer Schmidt approached the rear passenger door of the car and asked that passenger to get out of the car because he had an outstanding warrant. What Officer Schmidt didn't know was that the other passengers in the vehicle heard Jerry Lard say things like, "Looks like tonight's going to be the night, and here we go," as Officer Schmidt opened his door. They also saw Jerry Lard reach into the floorboard and pick something up before all of this happened. As Officer Schmidt opened the rear passenger door, Jerry Lard had a weapon in his hand that he pointed at Officer Schmidt, and he shot him in the jaw. Jerry Lard had a .25 caliber pistol in his possession, and when he shot Officer Schmidt ran away from him. Both Officer Schmidt and Sergeant Overstreet tried to get away as fast as possible, but Jerry Lard got out of the vehicle and continued firing shots at both of them. While Sergeant Overstreet was able to get back in his police cruiser, Officer Schmidt wasn't able to do the same, and Jerry Lard walked up to him and said things like, "What you got now, B?" and "Die, mother effer, die." Jerry Lard fired multiple other shots at Officer Schmidt as Officer Schmidt begged him to stop shooting him. Officer Schmidt said things like, "Please don't shoot me again." Jerry Lard ran out of bullets and picked up Officer Schmidt's own weapon and shot him with that as well. As Jerry Lard tried to run away from the scene, Sergeant Overstreet was able to shoot him in the back. Officer Schmidt was taken to a local hospital, but he did not make it. Officer Jonathan Schmidt was pronounced deceased about an hour after the shooting. He had been shot 4 times. 1 shot landed in his protective vest, but 2 shots hit him in the neck area and 1 shot hit him in the wrist. At trial, the other occupants in the vehicle testified to what Jerry Lard said during that traffic stop. The defense said that Jerry Lard had brain damage and couldn't understand the criminality of his actions that night. On the other side of that, prosecution witnesses testified that Jerry Lard had a history and many signs that pointed to him having antisocial personality disorder, which is what you would call someone who is a psychopath. Yes, he had a history of drug use, but he also had a history of doing things like setting fires and harming animals. He had been in trouble at school one time for hitting another kid over the head with a metal chair. At one point, he lost a job because he handcuffed the boss's son to a scaffold and then knocked him off of it. Jerry Lard had also made threats to officers before. He had threatened to harm them. A guard from the detention center where Jerry Lard had been held before his trial testified to statements that Jerry Lard made that he overheard himself. He testified that Jerry Lard made statements like, "It's funny that I got one and not the other, and I wish I would have shot that other one too," referring to the fact that he did not shoot Sergeant Overstreet. The driver of the vehicle that night, Brian Ellenbaugh, testified that Jerry Lard had once told him, "If they ever try me, there's going to be a war, and if I'm ever with you and you get stopped, you better try to get away because I'm going to be shooting." Jerry Lard was convicted of capital murder, attempted capital murder, and being in possession of methamphetamine. He was sentenced to the death penalty on the capital murder charge, life in prison on the attempted capital murder charge, and 10 years on the drug charge. Jerry Lard is currently being held at Varner Supermax on Arkansas death row.